ugly all this is, we got to do something about that.
All right, folks, today we're going to talk suspension, and by suspension, I mean control arms. It's another fairly common question I get asked about my truck. It's the Beltec 4.6 kit. It was already installed on the truck before I bought it. Had I done it myself, I probably would have done it a little bit different, but we're going to work with what we got. So they left the stock control arms in there, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you are a lowered truck like me, and you are running the stock one still, you'll know that those suckers are very beefy and they do hang pretty low. But that's fine because they can take a beating. Insert clip here. No, that is not a sound effect. That is literally the sound of my control arm smacking up against a sidewalk ledge that was covered by grass and I couldn't see it. My truck came to a dead stop. So we're gonna try to do something about that today. We went ahead and picked up some tubular A-arms. I'll show you in a second what we got. They're not as beefy, they're better looking, they're painted, or they're powder coated. They just look a little bit nicer, and I think supposedly we'll gain a little bit of clearance, so we'll see about that. Also, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get rid of the sway bar under here for now. One, it just, again, it hangs way too low and it's pretty ugly. And two, I don't really think it's gonna make a difference for me, because I don't really drive my truck like that to worry about body roll and all that. So that doesn't really matter to me. So we'll go ahead and rip that out of there. Another thing we're gonna try and fix, something that a lot of square bodies I guess seem to have, is what's known as the Chevy lean. I think part of that is due to the trucks that run the just single tank on the driver's side. I think a full tank maybe just, and sitting on the driver's side as well, kind of leans the truck a little bit. That's my theory on it. But partially, I know it's bad, is because I have a bad ball joint on this side, which is why this side is a lot lower than the other side, but it looks cooler, so I just didn't really care about it. Go ahead and fix that. We'll do the uppers and lowers. I'll show you what's all involved with that. Yeah, let's go take a look at what we got. All right, so let's take a look. These are your run-of-the-mill eBay specials. They're not a fancy name brand or anything like that. A couple reasons. One, I've actually used these before. They're on the red step side currently, and they've been on there for however many years now. Zero issues. Two, with the truck being as low as it is and as beat up as the stock control arms have gotten from speed bumps and everything else, didn't want to spend a bunch of money on something that could potentially end up the same way. They already got your bump stops, your ball joints in there, and they just bolt right in. So let's get started ripping things apart. So as you can see, these things have taken quite a beating, and they're just ugly. You see the lip rolled up right there from how many times I've smacked it. Same with that one. But you can also see how low the sway bar hangs. And I don't think I've ever hit it, but honestly I just don't like the look of it. And again, I don't really care about the body roll that much, so we're gonna go ahead and rip that out of there. All right, so here's what we're looking at here. Nice and crusty and old. I'll just go ahead and do a time lapse of me ripping everything out. It's fairly simple. We just got 2 bolts up there. We got your, I guess, the crown nut under there. And then we'll let that hang. And we'll go ahead and do the tops first. I think those are probably easier. One thing I think is important to note, if you do have the shims in there, definitely leave those in at least until you get the new ones back on, so that way you know whether to adjust in or out, depending on how they fit. So we'll go ahead and leave the shims on there once we pull the tops off, so that way, you know, we know where to start. So something to keep in mind when installing these, so you kind of differentiate between the left and the right. Your curved side of the arm is going to go towards the back of the vehicle, straight towards the front. All right, so we got the upper one just kind of hanging on there. Sway bar off of there. Got the spring out. We got the shock off. There's 2 more bolts on each side back there that are holding the cross shaft on, and they're going to be really difficult to get to. You can't really see. All right, so fast forward quite a few hours later. We just got pretty much everything buttoned up on this side. Again, definitely want to make sure you keep your shims in there if you are running shims. That way you'll know where to start from if you need to take or leave some. Something to keep in mind, the shock bracket, I had to grind that down a little bit to get the hold the line up, but other than that, it wasn't too bad. The bolts that hold the U-bolts in, that hold the cross shaft of the lower arm, those are kind of a real pain in the ass to get to. I recommend just using a huge long extension that goes even through the engine bay. That's what I did, instead of trying to get under there because there's not a lot of space to move around. But yeah, so actually it looks really good. We'll wait till we see it on the ground, see if it fixed our Chevy lean problem. But we'll get the last few bolts tightened up here, get the wheel put on, and set it on the ground and see what it looks like. All right, well, that's pretty much a wrap on the control arm conversion. I gotta say, once again, eBay saves the day. I only did one side just so I could have the comparison of the stock versus the tubular. And as you can see, it does look like we are gonna save a little bit of space. So any lower truck guys, I'd definitely look into something like this. If you're on a budget, this is definitely the way to go. I think it was a little under 500 bucks for both sides, top and bottom. And that's with the ball joints and bump stops already in there. Like I said, I've used these before, no issues. Fitment was great, they look great, the quality's great. And if I had any complaints, I promise I'd tell you, but they're awesome. I'll definitely put the link for them down in the description for anybody interested. Hopefully that inspires some of you guys to just start ripping out your own control arms. You know, it did fix my Chevy lean problem that I had. That was mostly due to the fact that the ball joint was non-existent before. But if you made it all the way to the end of the video, I genuinely appreciate you for sticking around, hanging out, seeing how to do this weird stuff. Yeah, we'll see you on the next one.